some of you are concerned about, one that is elitist and potentially does not offer this kind of a program to certain demographics of our community. So that's not what I'm interested in at all. Sorry, there was a lot there. In terms of
Could be more money from the play.
Yes. Yes, so there is certainly some expenses on the front end of this project. And I feel very good about our ability to get partnerships and people like Mr. Hall who are willing to support public charter education behind us. That's not the long run. You don't need 1.5 or multi-million-dollar fundraising annually. The budget is solvent in and of itself. You need some facilities help, absolutely. And I want to prove to this board that we can put that facilities together. But after that, well, fundraising certainly helps this kind of program, and I believe we have all kinds of capacity for fundraising and potential there. You have a solvent budget with a reserve in every year on our 5-year projection.
I think the startup cost, 40,000. You have it listed as needing startup costs like 19,000.
20.
20.
Yep.
And so I looked at your website. I looked at there's 230 student people that have responded positively. Maybe it's greater now. But how much of that 40,000 have you actually have in hand now?
So the 20,000 that we projected for startup, we have over $18,000 in donations in hand in a bank account right now. So we have, and that was essentially fundraised in the last 3 months. So in 3 months, we've almost virtually met our startup projections in terms of fundraising. That does double in year 1 and stays at about 40,000. And if you look at, and I can even have CSMC speak about this if you want to ask questions. If you look at the average contribution for students across Contra Costa County, that number is actually conservative in terms of per student donations on average. And that's not considering the kind of potential we have in terms of larger scale fundraising partnerships with individual donors and foundations that I think this kind of a program would attract.
I'm also looking at the level of support of the petition, and I got a lot of emails. Thank you all. This weekend it kept me very busy. And it's all across the board where I'm not hearing the districts want this. I know that West County has its own programs. We've had a letter sent from Wendell on that. We had a letter from, we had now Diablo send a list of programs that they already have. We have an emphasis in education for arts because it's not STEM anymore, it's STEAM, with the A for art. So it's not like we're not providing services. I understand this is for a unique child that will go to this, but I'm having problems with the community support, especially teachers that have written me who are in the arts. And one of the teachers was from Pittsburgh, and so I got a viewpoint of somebody who is a professional over there and is retired now, but she's worked with the arts over there. And so I don't see these communities asking for this, and that's really a concern of mine.
Can I jump in there?
Address with that.
Absolutely. I want to be clear. You did get some support emails as well, I assume, and I assume that represented educators, families, professionals in industry that are from across our county. So I hope you see that there is some support and demand out there too, and I think it is quite a large amount of support. I think even an arts teacher is going to admit, if you have a conversation with them, that well, arts education, visual and performing arts electives in the comprehensive traditional high school and middle school programs are incredibly important. We have dynamic programs across this county that are doing a great job. They are not offering an integrated curriculum, which is what we're talking about here. It's not the mission of a comprehensive middle or high school to do so. It's a different mission. And furthermore, a conservatory training is different than what you're going to be exposed to in your traditional Baptist classes. So it's not the same. It is unique. I think that it would be very hard for someone to argue against that. There is no program that is like this in Contra Costa County. And while I understand that districts, especially district officials, are going to write in opposition to this charter, I can't stop them from doing that. I don't think that means that there aren't families and prospective students within their districts and in various parts of our community that are absolutely in support of this program. You heard them at our public hearing, you'll hear them tonight, and I know you got emails about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Steve?
The first year that you're open, how many students do you anticipate having?
We would like to have 450 students.
So I just have a question because I can't quite understand how this will work. It's a school of performing arts, and you have some of your staff on board. Obviously, not everybody because you're growing.
That is correct.
And I understand that. Which arts are you going to target and develop in students? Because you're going to try to do everything?
4 conservatories. Dance, theater, music, both vocal and instrumental, and what we're calling arts management, which is the production, technical design, even business and marketing aspects of performance.
From the first year?
Absolutely. Well, let me take that back. We're talking about, at the 6th middle school level, exposing students to all aspects of those arts, almost like a wheel kind of exposure, so that they get a well-rounded kind of exposure, and then they move into that specialty conservatory training as they get to the high school level. Obviously, that will continue to flesh itself out as we develop the curriculum and get teachers on board. And the size and scope of each conservatory will depend on the student body. You might have a larger conservatory in theater because that's what more kids are attracted to. You might have a smaller conservatory here, and you have to build your master schedule and your program around that demand.
Okay, and then I just have one other question. Do you have time for it?
Absolutely. I have all the time in the world.
Right now, I have one other question. Okay, I think you just said in your slideshow that the audition would prioritize for admission. But it's my understanding that if you have too many students, you go to a lottery, and that's a blind lottery. So how is that going to work? Would you
Correct.
explain that?
So the way Ed Code works is you have levels of preference established, priority. And once you exceed capacity, you have to have a public random drawing, but it's at each level. So let me give you an example. If we were going to take 450 students, and priority level 1 is the students that did very well on above average on their audition. And we only had 200 of those. Those students are automatically in. Priority level 2 would be students who live within Contra Costa County. And we had, let's say, 300 of those. Then you would do a public random drawing at that level. So you'd have 250 of those 300 students that would be admitted. That's the priority, and that's how the admissions work. If you had students, for instance, that came from outside of Contra Costa County, they would be the next level of priority, and they would be drawn in their turn as well. So it establishes a level of preference. If you don't exceed capacity, everybody gets in. There is no public random drawing. Sorry, maybe that was too convoluted.
No, it wasn't at all, but okay. I'm just a little bit concerned about how we're going to make sure that we're reaching our low income and some special needs students.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't sound like you're going to have very many of those if you go through that system the way you're describing it. They don't get a tier themselves. There's no other consideration given for that.
They're treated like any other students, in terms of the audition process. And like I was trying to point out in the presentation, the audition is not, in fact, does not even emphasize looking at a student and determining whether they've had 10 years of private training prior to their audition. Really what you're looking for is someone who's passionate, who's dedicated, who might have some potential. And I know I've talked about it in some of my writing, and I think you've heard from Don Harris about this. Oakland School of the Arts has special needs students, they have low-income students, they have diversity at their school. I know I got an email the other day from the executive director of the Orange County School of the Arts, and the students that gave their commencement speech at graduation last year had an IEP and